Hey, welcome back. It's time to do something a little different here. This is a Westinghouse, I believe it's just a clock radio. Because it does have a snooze alarm function setting. But, oh, here we go. This is a Westinghouse model 837L5. It's in beige and Oxford white. 120 volts, 60 cycles, 35 volt amps, 5 tuber. We recommend genuine Westinghouse tubes. So the cabinet and front are held together by 4 tabs molded around the inside of the rim and back section. Okay. So I guess I just have to, when it comes to that, it's not bad shape. It needs a little bit of gluing. This aluminum strip is coming off. Let's power it up, see what it does or doesn't do. Okay, our clock's functioning. It's got the dual second hand there, so you don't know if you read the right hand side or left hand side. Not really sure. And what are we consuming here? We're consuming 4 watts right now, which is just the radio I'm assuming. So turn this on, click that down, and it jumps to 29 watts. Sounds good. Give it a little volume. The whole thing's just vibrating. That is a bad capacitor for sure. Alright, well, we know it works. It just needs a cap. So, opening this thing up. How do we do this again? Maybe if I read the instructions. Yeah, it's kind of what I figured. You just got to pry up on this. And then there's one here. There we go. So I should be able to lift this off. There we go. Awesome. Look at that. Is that nicotine or is that, what is that? Dust. Let's get this out of the way. I think working on these radios is always cool. You can never get bored of working on tube radios, that's for sure. Okay, that knob doesn't pull off. I'm going to pull it out from here. There we go. Some cracked joints here. Here's a cracked one. Around these tube sockets. But that's not our problem. Our problem is the electrolytic. So the electrolytic is 2 50 microfarad at 150 volts. And there's 3 pins. Okay, so let's pull it out. Actually, you know what? Pull this out out of the way too, so they don't get broken. And there it is. It looks like it's wax molded. Made in Canada. Plus 75 degrees Celsius. That's pretty good. Alright, let's test this one out and see what we get. B is common, C1 and C2. Alright, so let's get, let's see here, B is common. Make sure we got a short here first. I don't think there's any charge on this. B is negative. Let's try C1 first. And it's supposed to be 50 microfarads. And we have 200 nanofarads. ESR is 5.6K. That capacitor is crap. Next one, 50 microfarad, and it measures 220 and 6.2K. So that one's crap as well. So we need 150 volts. 150 volt microfarad. Okay, let me see what I got in my stock here. So what I found is I found two 100 microfarads, 200 volt, and I'm going to wire them together. Just tie the grounds together. And the positives will be my two replacements for these two 50 microfarads. Yeah, I know I'm going up in value, but it's not a big deal. So let's just strip this. I need a wire. Oops. I need a wire to tie these negatives together. And a little pigtail on it so that we can tie it to the board. Like this. Okay. There we go. Perfect. Holds it in for me. You know what? I need different solder. You know, working on these old radios, you gotta get your chunky solder out. Because you just want to flood that joint. Okay, what just fell? A piece of something. What is that? Solder. It's very soft. It fell out of the radio here somewhere. Okay, what I'll do is I'll put a little blob of silicone just to tie these together and stabilize that. It is very stable. It's not going to go anywhere. Now let's fix the cracked solder joints. I spotted a few. Let's just go over the board. This is a single-sided board, right? Yes. I fixed a lot of radios when I was a kid by just going through and resoldering these cracked tube sockets. Brought a lot of them back to life. All the thermal cycling. This one's really cracked. So is this one. Here's another one. I need more heat. Okay. I might as well just redo this whole radio because I think it's quite a few years on it. Yeah, I've seen a lot of these radios, these transformerless 5-tube, connected one side to the line. It's a coil. Anything else? Here's one. Okay. Okay, I'll clean flux off that. But I want you to look at this, how few parts they have on this radio. Tuning capacitor, coil, resistor, capacitor, resistor, resistor, resistor. Resistor, capacitor, capacitor, and one of those devices with multiple things in it. So what's the part counts on this thing? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 19, including, oh no, 19, 20, 21, including everything. Okay, this one goes here. A 50C5A. I guess that's the audio output tube and everything all in one. Okay. Let's test it first. Take the cord out of here. Come on. Plug it in. So I need a volume knob. Took a while.
When, if, and how long they'll stay out. These workers represent a wide range of jobs in hospitals. Food services, clerical, cleaners, and porters. Hundreds of workers are out in Edmonton and Calgary, with a few smaller centres also hit. Some surgeries and clinics have been cancelled. Terry Reid, CBC News, Edmonton.
Opposition leader Rachel Notley says the province must cancel
the virus in the province. Over 20
The interactive map, communities will be scheduled 72 hours prior, as well as signs being put up. The 5:30 report continues with 6:30 Chad weather and sports with Brendan Escott. I'm Eileen Bell. Your next scheduled news at 6 on 6:30 Chad. And now from Global One, here's Justin Durbin.
And it continues to be a busy afternoon for those making their way across the city. We are dealing with some wet road conditions as the rain makes its way into the capital region. Watch for some delays on the west leg of the Henday southbound.
updating earlier than planned because of the pandemic.
Multiple successful vaccines to address.
Works good. So I'm looking at this clock mechanism here. It looks like it needs a good cleaning and going over. I'm guessing that's 50 years of dust and grease and dirt in there. Yeah, I would need a total cleaning out and re-grease. So that was a pretty simple fix. All it needed is one cap, and there's only one electrolytic in the whole thing. These things are built down to a price, cheap, but hey, it works. So it is what it is. But all right, so what are we looking at here? That's the part number, I'm assuming. And then here's the two capacitors. B is your common. This is B connector here. C1, C2. C1, C2, and both 50 microfarad at 150 volts. B is your common negative. Made in Canada, plus 75 degrees Celsius. It looks like they just took a cardboard tube, crimped on 3 terminals on the edge of the cardboard, placed it upside down, put the ceramic pellet in, made the connections, and then just filled it with wax. I don't even think that's an epoxy. I think it's a wax. Yeah, it's hard and brittle. Let's see. Let's slice this thing. And I expect it to fully be flooded with wax inside. Oh, it's got a plug on top and plug on bottom. Here's our capacitor inside. It looks pretty gross. Oh, these are holding, okay. So there's a cardboard block, I guess, and then they filled it with wax for the top. Yeah, this capacitor is not going to work. Cardboard tube, looks like it's impregnated with wax to keep it somewhat moisture tight. What's going on here? And it's like a pellet. Is there 3 connections? Ah, what's that? Wow, this stuff's so brittle. Just crumbles. Oh. So that looks like it might be another cardboard. I want to see how this is connected. So it looks like it's like foil strips that are crimped to these lugs. Okay, we're getting it. There. I think we're getting it. We're winning. Okay, so there's the internal structure. You got like a pellet or electrolyte. Let's try and unravel some of this. Paper. A little bit of tape to hold it in place. Okay. More paper. Aluminum. And here we go. It just unrolls. So I'm assuming this is just one capacitor here. It's probably got multiple layers. Let's see here. You got two layers of paper to insulate it. There's the other layer. It looks fairly good intact. Completely dry. The electrolytics are supposed to be saturated with electrolyte. It's totally dry and crusty. All the connections are made in the center. Usually they make the connections on the outside after they're done wrapping. Here's a connection here. And what it is a strip of metal, and then they rivet 4 spots just to make electrical contact. Doesn't want to come out. Okay, and then I think this is the other capacitor inside. So this is probably one 50 microfarad, and this is probably the other 50 microfarad. Using the same common negative anode or cathode, whatever you want to call it, for a capacitor. Yep, pretty much all there is to it. Reduced to a pile of rubble now. Alright, this is not going to be a restoration. I just wanted to give it a check over and see if it works, and it does. And I'm quite pleased with the condition of it, but you know, these things are so super simple. You know, this is pretty much your service manual right here. It tells you what tube and what socket, and that's pretty much the extent of how to fix one of these. When a tube goes out, take the back off, pop a new one in, and you're back in business. The other components on here, I'm talking failure rate probably like nil. The clock is problematic because it's, you know, it's 50 years old now, or 70 years old, 60 years old, and you know, take a look in there and it's just nasty grease and dirt. It would need to be disassembled and flushed out with brake cleaner or something just to get all that old grease out of there. But to do that, you'd have to remove these press-on nuts, which I'm not going to do today because, you know, you could damage the plastic, and I don't have any of those nuts. Even the tuning knob is held on with a plastic nut. You can see it in there. So to totally disassemble it, I'd have to pull all those nuts off, and then you know, it'd be a big job doing this. The motor seemed to be working fine. It's more probably just contacts and getting a fresh lubricant in there. All the original tubes. That's a good sign. It's never been serviced until now. It's got new caps in there. Yeah, so I just took a little bit of time cleaning it up. I cleaned the front. I didn't do anything with this because I'd have to remove the speaker, and there's all kinds of schmeg packed in these grooves, and you can, I don't know, you can see it. The camera doesn't pick it up, but it's all black mung inside there, and you'd have to soak it, and probably need a dip in an ultrasonic cleaner. But I cleaned up the rest of this. It's got some nasty scratches on here from cleaning. You'd have to take this front bezel off and polish it back to get a luster, because you can see scratches everywhere. And you know, even the back case cleaned up nice. I used some spray 9 cleaner, and all that smoke just poured off. The big letdown here, of course, is the crack. And you know, if I was going to restore this, I don't know what I'd do. Re-glue that, I guess, but it doesn't look like it wants to take glue. It looks like I probably could get it if I really focused on that, but for the most part I just wanted to clean it up and get it working again, which I think was successful. It does work pretty good, even though I have a lot of RFI interference on the bench. So, bad capacitor.